Hey, welcome back. I don't know who that other guy was sitting in for me over there, but going with this whole news reporter type thing. Anyway, he's out. I'm going to be playing him this afternoon in golf. It's going to be me versus the newsman. I'm going to play with both my bipolar personalities. No, hey, look, every week we try to bring you the best guests. I always say the guests that know where the rubber meets the road, the people that make things happen, not like these talking heads you see on other channels who their whole living is being made, getting paid to go on television and say whatever the network says. We bring you real people on this show. The real deal with the market is, as I mentioned earlier, it closed under 26,000 yesterday. It's at 25,888 now. I don't like it in the 25s. It could trapdoor to 24,000. Then 22,000, but we're keeping our eye close on that. I think Bitcoin is enjoying quite the nice day today and nice week. It's at 9,400, so things are happening if you've been taking our advice and looking into educating yourself on the whole crypto and big data economy. And every week I bring on one of my good buddies, and he's here for us to give you some insights on what's going on, talk to you about your IRA passive income and special treats that we may see in the market. But last week when Joe Hagan was here, he's been talking about this company Datadog, symbol DDOG, David Oscar George? Yeah, George, DDOG. Joe's been talking about this since October on Liquid Lunch. And last week I tried to press him, all right, Joe, enough with the Datadog. What else is good out there? And he said, you know what? I would stick with Datadog. Take a look at this. Aside from being a great friend of the show and, you know, joining me and others as big shareholders in InvestView, you're quite the stock picker, too. And going all the way back to October, you've been talking about Datadog, DDOG is the symbol, and this thing doesn't want to give up. In our final minute here, tell us a little bit of Datadog and if you got any new picks that people could take a look at.
You know what? Every time I look at something new, if I want to trade something in the market, I just default back to Datadog. It's in the same category as Zoom, and what's happened in this whole coronavirus and this whole, you know, needing to be, you know, really agile with your data and agile with your company, working from home, etc. And Datadog is one of the top few stocks that have performed. And we're not talking about coronavirus retracement. We're talking about new highs consistently. I talked about it 2 weeks ago on your show. It was 75. Yesterday, it almost hit 95. It hit 93. It's still around 90. It's a $27 billion valuation, and I think it's going to be worth at least $50 billion. So I think there's a lot of upside left in that stock.
Wow. Okay.
And that is validation for what we're doing at InvestView,
no doubt,
SafeTech, and our Apex.
There you have it. A lot of business networks, they don't show you their experts' calls because they're mostly wrong, so they don't get into the practice of that. Here we do, and when I'm off, I tell you, and if Joe was off, he'd say, hey, I made a miscalculation. But Joe Hagan joins us right now, the man, the myth, the legend at this point. Datadog at all-time highs again, Joe. And last week I tried to give you an out clause and say, give me another name, and you said, nope, I'm sticking with Datadog. You were right on the money. What's happening here?
I'm still sticking with the dog. I mean, we're in the big data economy. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. My only, you know, apples to apples comparison could be, you know, in the beginning of the whole, you know, iPhone, you know, to Apple. I think the stock could be a couple of hundred, you know, by the end of 21, and it's got a lot of upside. So in the month of June, I think they reported they have 2 new customers, Amazon Web Services and the U.S. government. Think about that for a second. So demand continues to grow in their pipeline. The need for being agile with your data as a company grows more urgent in this economy. And not only do I think that bodes well for the dog, if you will, but companies like Apex, the division of InvestView, you know, that have this type of outsourced, you know, product and portfolio to offer their clients. You know, I think they have a lot of upside for the next year or two to come, if not longer.
So, Joe, thanks for that. And, you know, I'm serious. You know, I've been doing CNBC and Fox News and Fox Business, and I used to make call after call. and I would say, hey, next time I come on, let them know, let the people know that I told them that Fannie Mae was going to go from $10 to $1 when I said short it. But the networks, they don't like to get in the practice of showing people's calls, because most of the people on TV talking about stocks are paid to talk about stocks. They don't really know anything. So they don't do that. And I used to, get really mad about it. So I'm glad that you were right, and I'm glad that we can show this stuff. But I have been talking about Bitcoin. You and I, have been talking about Apex and the great Apex model and the passive income. I know Apex is going through some really good changes right now, and it's being institutionalized. But talk to us a little bit about this Bitcoin economy, because I think, the longer I see Bitcoin between 9 and 10,000, I feel like from a technical standpoint, that's building like some tremendous support at these levels. What's your outlooks on Bitcoin itself as an asset?
Yeah, I think much like the dog, I think, within the next 12 months, somewhere in 2020 to 2021, you'll see new highs. If it takes a little longer, it takes a little longer, but they did it, the halving, they're doing the opposite of what the US dollar and other governments do as far as the supply, right? So they make it tougher to mine, yet it is gaining more and more momentum. It hasn't even touched, really scratched the surface, really as an asset class in managed money accounts for the average retail investor. And I think when that happens, all bets are off, and it has a lot of upside. But we're spoiled Americans, and counterparts over in the UK say, we don't look at Bitcoin with as much urgency as people in a lot of countries, hundreds of countries, that fear waking up one morning and seeing that their currency move 4 decimal points, like when Venezuela or from these other countries. So there is, regardless of the U.S., there is a global demand, an insatiable demand to own Bitcoin rather than one of these currencies. And at the end of the day, that only helps the long-term outlook tremendously.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like, everyone was all nervous about this halving event back in May, where they cut the bounty to certify transactions in half, which actually, to me, acts like a proxy buyback, because they're now creating less Bitcoin. And I think that's showing in what's happened is there's been a lot of instability and volatility in the markets. I happen to think there's too much artificial insemination in the markets right now for common stocks. I mean, there's one-off winners like Datadog that you pointed out, but I feel like the macros, it's got to clean out some of this crap. In our final minute, anything else you're looking at, or any thoughts on where the market goes from here?
So yeah, I think one last thought on Bitcoin. I mean, you talk about the market finds a wall of worry. I think certainly Bitcoin, when you look at the miners, even though it has solidified, have with the one report I read, they've been depositing less. So less of the Bitcoin has actually been hitting, accounts, right? So they're holding on to that for a reason. Nothing excites me. There's too much geopolitical, especially, domestically, unrest. I'm sticking with the dog. I'm sticking with my big data platform that we have with Apex. In full disclosure, I'm a large shareholder of InvestU, as
That's
you
right.
are.
Yep.
I love that little stock at 3 cents. And in terms of big data and Bitcoin, the future is really bright, right? You got to wear shades.
Joe going with the props now. All right, Joe, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much. We'll check in with you next week. That's Joe Hagan, CEO of Wealth Colony, and we'll take a quick break. Come back right after this with C.J. Pearson, president of Last Hope USA.